We've started. We'll call this meeting to order. And first thing on the agenda is our opening prayer. Vice Mayor Adam Dixon will lead us in that.
Let us pray. Dear God, we are grateful for this another day that you have allowed us to see. We thank you, God, for life, health, and strength. We thank you, God, for just numerous blessings, God, that you have provided us. And God, we are grateful for, again, this community in which we live. And honestly and truthfully, God, we're grateful for this time. We're here for this moment. And so, God, while you give us breath, while you give us strength, while you give us what we need, God, we're here for a purpose. And I'm told that I am to love my neighbor as I love myself. And so, God, I'm grateful for this moment. And all of the issues of the world, I'm grateful that there is a rock that is higher than I. And so, God, I appreciate you for, again, all that you have done, doing, and going to do, not only in my life, but the lives of others. People are going through grief, but God, you're able to comfort. People are going through sickness, but God, you're able to heal. People are going through all manner of issues, but God, there's nothing impossible for you. And so, God, this board this evening, as we deliberate, I pray, God, for unity. I pray, God, that you will guide us in our deliberations. I pray, God, that you'll continue to strengthen this community. Because, God, our neighbors are important, and we need to be mindful of our neighbors. I pray, God, that you'll continue to strengthen this staff and the work that they do, because it's more than a job. And, God, they show that every day, that they are servants to this town, and we're grateful for who they are and what they mean. And so, God, we just ask that you continue to provide the increase. We ask it all, God, in your sweet name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Adam. Ruth, who do you have to lead the pledge tonight? Very good.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Madam Recorder, roll call, please.
Mayor Vest.
Here.
Alderman Causey.
Here.
Alderman Countermine.
Here.
Alderman Dixon.
Here.
Alderman Wolf.
Here.
All right, we're all here. It's good to see everyone. It's a full house. It should be a pretty quick and uneventful meeting, I think, but it's an important meeting. The next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. Alderman, is there anything in there you wish to remove or discuss? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
A second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Motion carried. And just some of the items that we have in that consent agenda, we do that to kind of save time because there's a lot in there, but it's all just generally unanimous top stuff. Supervisor reports that we all get to read. A little thing about the Senior Center My Ride program, an agreement with the concession stand at the Little League Park, which we've done every year forever. Selling some surplus equipment, and we got Burger Night coming up down at the Boone Street Market, so we got some special events in there. Music on the Square is getting planned, brews and tunes, all that's in there. And we finish up with some outdoor use permits that we've done for many years and got that in there. So it's a great consent agenda. So, Alderman, I appreciate you approving that. With that, that is. We'll move into our financial report. I think that looks pretty good, but we'll let...
I'd like to ask our recorder, Madam Recorder, how are you this evening?
Doing very well.
You had a very nice report for us this month. Looks like things are growing at a pretty impressive clip still. Would you care to expand upon that and maybe just hit some highlights as you see fit, please?
Yes, I'll be happy to. All is well with the financial state of the town. We are at the height of our property tax collection period during the year. Those are coming in very well, and I'll touch on that in just a moment. As far as each of the funds, the general fund, drug fund, solid waste, water, sewer, and then capital fund. All of those funds are doing very well. I don't have anything that concerns me, through the month of January and even through tonight, so be praying. Moving into a little more detail on the property taxes, you'll see in your packet that we've collected 68.4% of our property taxes for the year, and they're coming in strong every day. So if you haven't paid your property taxes, those are due at the end of this month. On April the 1st, we will be turning over the 2022 personal and real property taxes to Chancery Court. So those who owe 2022 taxes, we need your help to get those paid, because those have to be taken care of before the 2023s.
Would you talk just a minute about the growth that we're seeing in the monthly collections year over year?
Yes.
Please, Madam Recorder.
Through January of last year, we had collected right at 68% of our open property taxes for just the current year, and we are at almost 68.5% this year. The billings are up, about $500,000, a little over $500,000. So, of course, that was, related to some funds that we had to raise in order to do some capital things around the town. As we grow, we have to invest in the community and do some of these very vital capital projects, so we had to raise some money for that. But despite all of that, we are about 0.5% heavier on our collections for the year, which really helps us.
Thank you.
Moving on to sales tax. I'm happy to report that our sales tax activity, our economic activity during the first few months of the year has been very strong. That always helps us when we can attract people into the community and they spend money here. They stay in the hotels and they spend money in the restaurants and the shops and those sorts of things. We grew about 9%. That was November over November. Now these lag a couple of months, so we won't see December activity for another week or so. So I would expect for the Christmas sales to have also been up, but this would have included the Black Friday. So November to November, we're at 9.14%.
Great.
Year to date, we are 7.7% up for the year. So
Awesome.
very healthy collections. One other little brief note, I want to give a little update because I know you've invested in some new software, and we know those things can either be a disaster or they can be successful. And you made a very wise choice way before I got here to select a software provider that specializes in local government software. So I'm happy to say that we've implemented payroll, accounts payable, and a general ledger. We implemented those January 1st. That's been probably the smoothest transition I have ever seen. We're still pulling some data over, so that's why you see a rather thick financial packet, because some reports out of the old system, some reports out of the new system. I'm working on marrying those together, so next month hopefully it won't be as thick. On the property tax side, we plan to implement the new property tax software. It's the same company, so I expect that to go smooth. That'll probably occur in March. We want to wait until we collect our current year taxes and the vast majority of those before we transition over. And then utility billing will move over later in the spring or early summer. So we're trying to phase it in so we're successful. But I couldn't be more pleased.
So thank you for leading that effort, Madam Recorder. That's been a source of great concern for many years when you're going from Fortran or whatever we had before to something in the 21st century. Yeah, something in the 21st century. It's a big deal, and I know your experience doing these kinds of transitions. So thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
And we
Your
like to be,
leadership.
we like to be historic here in Jonesborough, but just not in our software.
Well, unfortunately, we have been.
That's right. Changing that around.
We're modern now.
Yeah.
Is that going to have a positive impact on, I guess, our water system billing? Is that something?
I would envision it will once
Yeah.
we finish this. They have recent experience in one of our sister cities in the
Yeah.
Tri-Cities, so, they said that implementation went very, very well.
Yeah, very good.
So we should see some increased functionality with this new
Great.
system.
We have about 13,000 customers that'll probably like to hear that, so that's
Yes,
good.
yes.
Yeah. All right, is that
I would make a motion, we accept the financial report with accolades as accepted,
absolutely.
or as presented,
Got a
rather.
motion to approve from Alderman Wolf,
I'll second.
second from Alderman Dixon. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
And Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Motion carried. As you can see, when she said thick, this is our financial report that we can't do there, so maybe we can cut that in half as we get more efficient. All right, we got a few things to talk about from myself, and then we'll move into our citizens' comments. One, we got the Paws in Blues. Got a little fundraiser coming up down here. It's a dinner at 6 o'clock. And I think one little thing we left off of the little flyer here is that it's going to be at the Senior Center. So make sure you attend that. It's got a great barbecue. It's going to be on February the 23rd between 6 and 9 at the Senior Center. So it's always a sold-out event. I've showed up before late and not have any barbecue left. So make sure you plan on getting there early for that. It'll be a great dinner for you. In Alderman, we have just a couple of things to do here on some committees. I got a Senior Center Advisory Board committee. Got Lorena Craddock. We're going to nominate for that vacant term there. And on Historic Zoning, got Herman Jenkins going to fill a term until November 2024.
I don't think Lorena's old enough to be on the Senior Center Advisory Committee Board, but I'll make a motion that we approve both those as presented.
All right, I got a motion to approve both committee appointments from Alderman Wolf.
Second.
Got a second from Alderman Countermine. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
Just a couple other little quick things here. One, Chocolate Fest continued to be a sweet success downtown in spite of the rain. We still had a good turnout down there. Sold a lot of tickets, so appreciate everybody's participation in that. That's generally a JAMSA, I think, festival, but I'm sure our people participate in it some as well. So appreciate that. And I had a good friend, David Sell, lives down near our one of our pump stations, Station A. It's historically been one of our I don't say most, one of our more focal stations we have in town. We generally got to go down there and pump that thing quite a bit, and we're hoping to replace it here soon. But I just want to thank the wastewater crew for coming down there during this heavy rain. They had to come down there and pump that thing out, and they were there, I think, all day on a Saturday, and finally got it finished up on, I think, a Sunday night. So, we owe these guys in our utility department a lot of things for the work they get out there and do at all times. So, I appreciate those guys. And Mr. Browning, we're should be finishing up the Jackson Theater here soon. He gave us a really good write-up last week to read through there. We're going to start installing some carpet and tile next week. Glenn and I took a chance to tour through there last Friday, and it's looking really good inside the Jackson. There've been a few pictures float out there. We got Todd Hensley in there putting up our rigging, so all the little finer pieces are coming together and getting ready to put our seats in there. And I think tentatively we're looking at mid-year on getting this thing up and going. And it's going to be a beautiful facility. It'll knock your socks off when you get inside there. And they finally started putting up the doors. We was really careful on the entrance, the two doors, to not put them up too early and get them damaged. But they've been installed and they're going to be painted. So these next few months should be really exciting there at the Jackson. So appreciate everybody's work on that. We've got a young man. I want to see if he can get up and speak to us just for a little bit. One of our scouts out here. Braden, you want to tell us what you're doing?
So, I am from Troop 130 at Jackson Park of the Brethren. I am Life Scout right now. I am working on my Eagle Scout. If y'all did get the packet, I did include a picture of what I'm doing. Over by the Jonesborough Public Library, I am building a pergola and a little ranch-style fence to go around this little park so people can go and read and enjoy the outside right outside of the public library. Right now, I am looking for funding to try to help me build this. I am planning to have it built by spring break.
And you gonna do that yourself?
I am gonna get the Boy Scouts in my troop and some family members to help me build it.
Yeah. Well, very
Who
good.
would you make donations to?
Oh, right now it's mainly to me or Troop 130. And then I just take that and I'll show y'all the finished project when I'm done.
Okay. Would any donations we just send to the address there on Allison Drive?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That or y'all can email or text me.
Okay.
put
Do
both
you
of them.
have any more copies of that?
I do have one more here.
Okay, you might ought to ask everybody in this room if they would like a copy of it. Or just to take a picture of it with their cell phone might work, because you might have more than one donor here, potentially, so. But, we'll try to help you with that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
And
you.
good luck with your project, sir, very much.
Appreciate you doing that.
He said spring break 2024, right? That's awesome.
That's coming up.
Yeah, all right, we was talking about the financial success, and, you know, one thing we're doing well at this year too is our building permits. They were way up over this same period last year, almost double, so it's exciting to see that, most all these were 9 new homes getting built here, so excited for that. Certainly gonna help us out in the long run. And now, with all that, I've got a proclamation. It's National FFA Week. I think we got Josh Conger here, right? Josh? Oh, you got a whole bunch here.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
the whole back row.
Somebody will come down, we'll read this proclamation.
All right. Bring them on down.
All right, you get on both sides. Looking sharp.
Girls on one side, boys on. It's always
Whereas
It's like a dance off.
FFA and agricultural education provide a strong foundation for the youth of America and the future of food, fiber, and natural resources. And whereas FFA promotes premier leadership, personal growth, and career success among its members. And whereas agricultural education and FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing needs in the science, business, and technology of agriculture. And whereas the FFA motto, learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve, gives direction and purpose to these students who take an active role in succeeding in agricultural education. And whereas FFA promotes citizenship, volunteerism, patriotism, and cooperation. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Vance, Mayor of the Town of Jonesborough, on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the citizens of the town, do hereby designate week of February 17th to the 24th as National FFA Week in Jonesborough, Tennessee. Let's give these. Do you all have a spokesman or anything? All right. Squeeze in there.
I like the jackets.
You have anything you'd like to say?
On behalf of the Department of FFA, we'd like to thank you for recognizing FFA Week in Jonesborough.
You're very welcome. Appreciate you all participating in such a great organization. Thank you. Now we get to do Employee of the Month, Lisa Buckingham.
There she is.
They tricked you into coming tonight? Well, I get to read some good things about you. I'll let you hold that, and that'll be yours to keep. Lisa has the kind of tenacity, determination, and attendance that every director strives for in their team members. She shows up no later than an hour early. Very good.
Woo.
Every day with the same positive attitude about her job as the day before. She has never been late to work and did not request a day off for over a year and a half. This demonstrates how much love she has for her job and her team. During the times Jonesborough has needed her most, she has been there. She rotated 12 to 16 hour our shifts during the large freeze last winter, both in dispatch and also in the field to ensure every customer was heard and their needs were met. Lisa is an excellent example in her field of leadership role, as well as a senior meter reader, and sets a brilliant example of a leader throughout town. She represents the town of Jonesborough well in customer communication and relations. A lot of customers even know her by name and recognize her on her work route. She has gained a large amount of public respect and trust. It's for these reasons that I nominate Lisa Buxton for January Employee of the Month. Already White had other good things to say.
Woohoo!
How long have you been doing this job? 2.5 years. We need more of them like you. Set a good example. We'll get you all a picture here. Anything you want to say to the community? Thank you. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, sorry. My bad.
All right, Alderman, that's all I've got. Now we'll move into citizens' comments. We've got some people signed up. Bill Chapman, you're up first. Batter up.
My name is Bill Chapman, 8 Walton Street in Jonesborough, and I'm here to talk about the crosswalk between New Halifax and the Senior Center. Last July the 15th, I sent a letter to all of you outlining concerns that we had about pedestrian safety with the crosswalk. I sent another one on February, after not hearing anything other than, I take that back. I got a response from Alderman Causey telling me that she was sure that the town would look into the issues. And then I also heard from Mr. Rosenoff, who said he would take this up with staff. After not hearing anything more or seeing anything more, I sent another letter on February the 7th. It appears to me that things have gotten worse. You can't see the crosswalk, first of all. There's a speed issue on East Main, I think that everybody has been aware of for some point in time. And I have concerns that someone is going to get seriously hurt or fatally hurt, being hit by a car. People don't seem to recognize the fact that there is a crosswalk there. I think the signs are too close to the crosswalk. The crosswalk itself is tough to see. I also think that there are some people who don't necessarily know that pedestrians have the right of way in crosswalks. And then finally, there are some people who just aren't considerate of the fact that there are people crossing the street. And Becky and I had somebody go past us while we were in the middle of the crosswalk doing about 45, I would guess. So what I'm asking the board to do is to help improve that crossing. And I have sent you a couple of different letters and made some recommendations. I am by no means an expert in any of that, but I think if you're going to come with some sort of a complaint, you at least need to have a suggestion on what you might do to be able to help alleviate the problem. So I would like all of you to support getting improvements, not only to the crosswalk across between New Halifax and the Senior Center, but all of the crosswalks in Jonesborough. The only reason that I think that the one between New Halifax and the Senior Center is a little more problematic is because of the additional speeds that are involved in that part of Jonesborough. But people don't seem to pay attention to the crosswalks anywhere in Jonesborough. So anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Chris Buckner. Just give your address up there if you would, please.
My name's Chris Buckner. I live at 37 Alders Grove. It's a new subdivision being put in down there off Boones Creeks Road. Since we moved in, there's been ongoing issues with construction hours. I go to work early in the morning. I leave the house at 5:20. We'll pass concrete trucks coming into the subdivision to work that are as early as that. There are construction workers there all hours of the evening. Last night there were guys there after 10 o'clock. Spoke with Chief Rice about that. He said that was something he could address. But there's also a major speeding issue through the subdivision. They've got sawhorses up and it's posted 10 mile an hour. But people are using that for their personal drag strip. Not only with that, when you first come into Alders Grove, you go up to the very top, there's a road that turns to the right that is strung off. They will not allow traffic to go through there. So now you're not only having a problem with traffic coming in, now they're trying to find a place to turn around to come out. You're talking FedEx drivers, UPS drivers, people just looking for a place to live. That really needs to be addressed in any kind of construction field. That I'm pretty sure roads should not be blocked for any reason. But anyway, also some of the things we have encountered living there. We moved in back in June, and obnoxious music all hours of the day so loud you can close your house up and you hear it over your televisions. So we personally went out and asked them to turn it down. Well, all that did was stir up a hornet's nest. So now we were getting actually harassed. Guys just standing in front of our apartment, sitting there staring at us, looking through our windows. And it got as far as guys, women, whoever, there's both sexes there. They would come in and actually rev up their engines right in front of the house because they knew we complained. So we put up security cameras. That has alleviated some of it, but that nowhere near addressed the issue. We did have several conversations with the management of the subdivision, and Dylan, who we had to talk to, said there was nothing more he can do other than put up the speeding sign. Well, I suggested why not put in speed calming tables. Granted, the road's not finished, but that would at least deter speeders from going up through there. I was almost hit once. I've already had the mirror taken off the side of my car. Another individual lives up the street. We got several elderly people living there. And this one little old lady, she backs out. It takes her 5 minutes to get out of her driveway. And they come right up on her and won't even give her space to get out. So anyway, I just wanted to address that with construction's concerns, that we finally got to talk to Dylan again, and they proposed that if we weren't happy there, we could move. Well, we're under a binding contract, so we don't want to lose any of our deposits and any of that money, but then they sent us a letter stating that they will, as of April 1st, they would allow us to move out. Well, that contradicts what the lease I signed. The lease I signed, I'm there till the end of May. So we're going to stay there till the end of May. We're going to fulfill our engagement with the lease. But we would seriously like the board's help on addressing, getting some issues with the noise and the speeding, especially before somebody seriously gets hurt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dana Helvey.
Good evening. Dana Helvey, 100 East Wood Road. Good evening, everybody.
Good to see
Hello.
you.
Hello.
Good.
Well, good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. As probably everybody knows, there's the complaint that's been filed against the town and also all the people that's, basically most of the people that's in front of me right here. And although I don't want to really get into that, I did read the complaint. I'm sure there's valid points all the way around. And especially since council's over here for Tennessee Hills, I really want to make it known that it's really important how we portray those that we are in conflict with. And in our actions, in our social media, in our day-to-day, in our talking with customers. I think it's really important to make sure that throughout this process, as it works out, we try to remain as positive and as forward hopeful thinking as we possibly can. And that extends all the way around. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do because emotions run high. Listen to this gentleman here, and you know, we got people roaring by our house. And when the tree came across Woodrow, I got down there with a can of paint from Lowe's, and I painted a new white stripe by the stop sign. Chief, take me in now. If you can't do that, oh well, it got done. But I wanted to take action because it seems like the anger in many areas of our society has just increased and increased. And I feel that it's up to us to try to just lower the temperature as much as possible. When I hear words evil, or intent, or reckless, or callous indifference, you know, we have control over these words, and we also have control over how the public hears this. So through this whole process, I do hope that there's going to be an amicable solution. I pray for that because this town is very positive, and many of the people that have moved here have come from a place where it was so negative and so distasteful that they just had to leave. And they moved to Jonesborough, Tennessee.
Amen.
And so we're here for a reason. And we want things to be resolved. We want everybody to get along as best we possibly can. And when we have conflicts, let's find somebody in the middle that has the ability to bring people together that's not entirely on this side or this side. Find that person, get them on the team, and let's try to get things resolved. And then let's always speak of the other party in the best possible terms. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you, Dana.
appreciate everyone. Next item on our agenda is Alderman communication. Alderman, anything you want to share with the community? Adam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Today, Mayor, myself, members of the board were at the McKinney Center celebrating the 10th anniversary of the McKinney Center. And so it was just a very good afternoon, again, to celebrate that occasion. I hope that we as a community never forget, and I appreciate the mayor allowing me to say a few words this afternoon, but you know, the building, and there are a few buildings scattered throughout the region. These buildings were built to divide, and legal segregation, that was the intent. Tennessee's oldest town to have boldly moved in a direction to take these buildings and repurpose them to unite. And that's something that really should be broadcast to the outside world, particularly in the times in which we live. The town was proactive. Former Administrator Browning, then Director of Schools Ron Dykes, then Mayor Wolf, very proactive, very forward thinking. And 2013, we were able to move into this beautiful space, and there's now artistic and cultural programs going on. And we have just seen such wonderful things come out of the McKinney Center. And I'm hopeful that we're going to see another decade of outstanding things at the McKinney Center. And again, I think it just really shapes the community that we want to be. So it was a good afternoon. I'm just very appreciative for Teresa and Sky and Ann for what they put together. And I think that the alumni of the old Booker T School, there were a few alumni there, I think that they enjoyed their afternoon as well. So it was just a really good day.
Thank you, Adam. Terry, you got anything? Kelly? Virginia?
Well, I want to give a couple of shout outs here. One, tonight, to our leadership team and to our utilities division, especially during the most recent cold snap. I will confess that I was not here for the entire duration of that cold snap. And you do have permission to feel sorry for me, but I know you won't. But our utilities department were here for the duration of that cold snap, and we saw some things, and I had some things relayed to me that were shocking to see, as in icebergs in the Nolichucky River, as in the ability of our screens that filter the initial intake for our water plant to be able to draw from the river. To the screens froze up. You were looking at folks every 2 or 3 minutes having to blow them off with air compressors to keep the ice off. The water itself became difficult to pull into the plant rapidly enough to even process the water so we could have drinking water. So just to put that in perspective, the last time we had issues with our water system, it came from a prolonged cold snap with leaks bleeding us out. That's basically the gist of it. Thrown on top of it, rolling blackouts courtesy of our friends at TVA. This time, different animal, same scenario. We were under mortal threat of this time the river freezing solid is what it amounts to. And, just when you think you've seen it all out of the Nolichucky River, here comes something else. I want to commend our entire staff, our leadership team, and especially our utilities director, Kevin Brobeck, and his folks. Water, sewer, meters, it took everybody. And I know that everybody participated, but you all, once again, saved us from having a catastrophic health crisis. That's the only way you could put it, and people running out of water during that cold snap. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. Tremendous job, and I think you deserve a round of applause. I'll just say that. The other thing that I'd like to talk about tonight is just how grateful I am for the goodness of this community. I think that Adam alluded to it in his prayer and in his discussion about the McKinney Center. I had an opportunity to write a letter that I forwarded to all of you. One of our pioneers, one of our cultural beacons, Jimmy Neal Smith, is not doing very well right now. He is in a nursing home facility in Johnson City. And one of his associates with storytelling got to talk about, or sent a letter out telling folks that you might want to send Jimmy a note. And she's collecting those notes, and she'll be presenting them to him this week for Valentine's Day. If you get an opportunity to say something to Jimmy or forward a note to him through storytelling, please do that. But Dana, some of the things you talked about, the differences between this community and other communities are very apparent to us here tonight. I think they're more apparent sometimes to people who move here, who've been other places, because that's when you really see the value. You have that contrast fresh in your mind. And, Jimmy's one of the people who, back in the day, back when things could have gone any different ways, number of different ways, said, you know what, here's who we are. Here's why it's important. And here's what we're going to do to preserve it. And, the everything from the fact that, Tennessee had two first historic districts in the state, one in Memphis and one in Jonesborough. That happened before Jimmy got into town leadership, but he lived here his whole life, recognized that importance, and historic preservation flourished under Jimmy's leadership. Things like the visitor center were done under his tenure. Town hall was built under his tenure. Those are facilities that to this day serve as a place where people of Jonesborough can come together in a united manner, have a town meeting, have a craft fair, have a wedding reception, have a community dinner. The togetherness that we have today as a community is a byproduct of who we are and things that were deliberately done to give us opportunities to be with each other. And that's not something that you see in every community. We're a God-fearing community. We talk about the golden rule. We try to live by the golden rule. It's a lot easier to live by the golden rule when you actually know your neighbors. Being together here in the town of Jonesborough, whether it's on Main Street or at the Visitor Center, at church on Sunday, at the Storytelling Center, at the Farmers Market, you name it. It's an important part of who we are. So in thinking about, you know, circumstances in the world, and thinking about maybe Jimmy's life circumstance at this point, and hearing the comments here tonight, and knowing a little bit about where your heart is, I can tell you that I'm proud of every one of you, because you are upholding the legacy of leaders like Jimmy Neal Smith. And that's not something I say very lightly. So, just good job, Jonesborough. Good job, Jonesborough.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that, Kelly. And you talk about in the mid-'70s when all this was happening, it's not like the country was in a great place then. I think that was a time when inflation and things were running rampant, and the interest rates are super high. And Jonesborough probably wasn't as well off financially as we are today, yet they
couldn't rub 2 nickels.
And they had the vision, no matter what, that this was the direction the town needed to take. And very bold to think about the little town at that time making these big decisions. And it is the success we see today.
And emphasizing quality of life.
Right.
And that's something we still emphasize and we're known for.
Yep.
It's just, it was visionary.
Let's keep doing it.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Virginia, you don't have anything? Okay. All right, we'll move into town attorney comments. Jim?
Mayor, I have 2 items for you this evening. First, there on your desk, there's an interlocal agreement between Washington County and the town. This is coming to you tonight because we have some work that the town is interested in having inmate labor for, and it's been a long time since we've had that, so this is something to celebrate tonight too. The sheriff is ready to roll that back out. I understand they're searching for inmates that qualify to do it. They're
Kelly's good with his hands.
Half the local workforce is in jail, it seems, upon occasion, so he'll have plenty to pick from. No offense to anybody.
But it may roll out maybe a little slower than we would like to see, but we're very pleased that he's going to work on that. But because we need the work done, we're asking you tonight to add this to your agenda and pass it again, the local agreement.
I'll make a motion that we add this item to the agenda, Mayor.
Okay, we got a motion to add it to the agenda from Alderman Wolf.
Second.
Second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, we'll add that to the agenda and cover that probably next. Jim's, anything else?
No, so this is very similar to what we've had in the past. It just makes it very clear that inmates remain under their control ultimately, and what we're responsible for in terms of liability and that type thing. But very similar to what we've had in the past.
Okay, y'all want to cover this now then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Make a motion, we approve this agenda presentation as presented to allow for county inmate labor to be used by the town of Jonesborough. And to say a hearty thank you to Sheriff Sexton.
Absolutely. Got a motion to approve from Alderman Wolf.
Second.
Second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? All right, call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. And we'll move into our old business.
Mayor, I had one other.
Okay, good.
Need to just announce that we're going to ask to meet with you all in executive session after the meeting tonight, as was mentioned in citizens' comments. We have some new litigation, and Hunter Shepard with the Heron McPeak Farm in Johnson City is with us this evening, and we'll be meeting with you all in executive session along with you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jim. All right, we'll move into old business. Got discussion and possible action concerning Boone Street and East Main Street intersection work. So appreciate everybody's work on putting that plan together. I think we tried to last month and kind of perfected it and had some conversations. So, Alderman, you see the updated agenda presentation. I think it's all great changes.
I wanted to say thank you to our staff for taking the time to go out and have these discussions. Craig, thank you for your efforts there. And as usual, when you involve a broad number of folks in your discussions, you end up with a better plan than you had before. And I think that's probably the case here, based on what you and I've talked about and some handrails and other things. So thank you very much for that.
I move to approve it.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Countermine,
I'll second.
second from Alderman Dixon. There was a comment in there, Glenn, about the, the rails up the sidewalk to kind of protect the pedestrians. Is that part of this getting approved? It's not, is it? Or is it something we need to discuss?
We included it as a
Okay, I think it's
part of
important.
the overall project.
We bidding that out?
If we're spending over 25,000, we'll have to competitively bid it,
Okay,
which if we do it in-house or if we have to do external, so.
okay. I noticed the
Because
cost.
the overall large project, I think the rails were more like 25 or 28,000, but that's probably on the high side.
It is.
So.
That was an estimate, of course. None of the projects actually budgeted in 23, 24. There's probably some of that we can do now. And then, of course, I know when I talked to this particular vendor that we used on most all of our projects in Jonesborough, just due to finding someone to do that, she indicated to me if we placed an order tomorrow, it would be months. So you're probably looking into next budget year anyway, and the entirety of this project I would foresee being done in phases anyway. A, as our street department can get to it, and B, as funds are available.
And I'll remind the board, Mayor, that we have got some grant opportunities that we've been pursuing that would tie into this project.
Yeah.
And that is probably going to be very helpful.
Absolutely. Well, just a little note in there about the estimate being $140 per linear foot. Just make sure that I've dealt with people that are a little bit less than that, or probably a bit less. Just make sure we get a good price on that still.
We would, and again, what I try to do is be very liberal in the footage as well. I think the cost will be under that, but when it comes to these projects, I try very hard to underpromise and overachieve, so the footage I think is very liberal as well.
Okay. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Call for the vote, Madam Recorder?
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Counterman.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
All right.
All right, motion carried. It's got two more items here. Very important one here next. Discussion and possible action concerning approval of an addendum to the Town of Jonesborough's personnel policy in regard to emergency leave. Glenn, is that something you want to speak to?
Sure. This was tag teamed by myself and Craig. Craig did a lot of the heavy lifting, actually went through our whole section of benefits, but for now, we're addressing emergency leave. So as Alderman Wolf talked about, not only last year, but then this year's emergency situations, not just with utilities having to spend a lot of extra time dealing with such emergency, but also other departments as well, public safety, street department, even Parks and Rec. And so we looked and analyzed where we were with paying folks and looking at when inclement weather or emergency time is announced, let's just say I was announced as an emergency, then that would trigger those folks that are basically fighting the emergency are paid time and a half versus regular time, or I'm not saying more complicated, but when you start getting into the 40 hours work week and then you're entitled to overtime after that, this basically triggers that regardless if you were in that day or at home that day, if you're called in or to work an emergency, you're working time and a half until said emergency is concluded. We're hoping that, last few times, it's been maybe 3, 4, 5, or 7 days, whatever it takes to do that. The other part is for holiday pay. People having to work the holiday, being able to get time and a half during that holiday and then also their straight pay of 8 hours for that holiday pay as well. So it's oftentimes when it's a holiday, who wants to work it? Well, if you think if I'm my shift, if I'm an officer and I'm working Monday's a pretty popular holiday day. And so if I'm on regular shift, we looked at it as, well, you know, I think we're a little bit at the point to where we really need to increase the pay for that day of holiday. It also talks about exempt employees as well having to come in on a holiday. That would be more of a absolute need to work a holiday versus I need to catch up on my work and I didn't have time this week. So it's a lot of things just trigger these episodes, but it takes us more of probably somewhere in the middle of really strong employer benefits and employees, and just recognizes there's times that are unusual that need to be, we believe, compensated more than other times.
Absolutely. Thank you all for putting that together. And I always think about whenever I get my trash picked up on Monday, and that's generally a lot of holidays on Monday. And I tell you, it's religiously, you'll see those guys there when everybody else is off work. Those guys are out there picking up our garbage throughout town, and just appreciate that kind of dedication. These are a small thing that we can do to kind of recognize that.
I just want to say thank you, Craig and Glenn, for getting this done so quickly, especially in the aftermath of the event we just had. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve it as presented.
A motion to approve from Alderman Wolf.
I'd like to say that I also was involved in that because I talked to Mr. Rosenoff and wanted equal
Yes.
treatment for all the employees. I'll second it.
Yeah.
I've got a second from Alderman Causey.
Can I?
Yes, sir.
Can I yield? Can you yield to me for a couple? Yeah. So I do want to say thank you to I'm going to say Virginia, because you know her lifelong devotion to Jonesborough and her wisdom in a lot of this, and talking to other aldermen and Alderman Wolf triggered the, hey, we really need to look at our benefits. These don't happen often, but you know we ought to recognize these odd times. They're not wanted, but they're happening. So from inclement weather and whether to close town hall, you know, I went to Ms. Causey and got her opinion, talked to Craig, and just because we didn't really have a policy in place, so it's nice to have a bit of a guideline. So I agree. Alderman Causey was awesome in this whole endeavor.
Very good.
Always is.
Are you still
Oh.
wanting to do a workshop at some point?
Yes. So the workshop would be more. There's a lot of cleanup in the benefits, and we'll announce another time for that. There was a suggestion at some point. I don't know if this triggered it, on whether or not to recognize the time from the holiday of this previous time period.
And that's the other thing. I think we ought to make this retroactive.
And I think I remember
to January 1.
I remember Alderman Wolf mentioning that.
Yes.
It's not in the presentation, but I
you
just want to
reminded
throw
me.
that out.
Yeah. I think it ought to be
It
retroactive.
was suggested by
Kevin, does January 1 cover the incident that we had this year?
That started the weekend before the holiday. It started Friday before the 15th.
I would amend my motion to represent this would be retroactive to January 1.
Virginia, you support that change?
Yes.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, Alderman?
Thank you, Glenn.
Not. Call for the vote, please.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Last thing on our agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of an audit contract with Blackburn Childers and Stegall for fiscal year 2023-24. Do great work for the town of Jonesborough. We appreciate everything they do. Alderman, any comments on that? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve from Alderman Dixon. Second from Alderman Countermine. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, we're going to recess and go into executive session.
Mayor, we don't anticipate you'll need to do any action, so you can go ahead and adjourn the
Okay.
meeting, and then we're gonna move to the police department for that executive session.
Okay. All right, well, meeting adjourned. We'll continue our night.